all you cool cats and kittens. Welcome to Make Good Food and Make Good Choices with Mrs. Pedretti. Guess what we're making? Can you tell by the ingredients? We are making some fabulous, Nestle Toll House chocolate chip cookies. This was the #1 favorite when I asked what everybody wanted to make. And we're gonna go with the classic because we just can. It's our favorite in our household, and here's how we're gonna roll it out. You have the recipe listed for yourselves, and I have one right in front of me. The very first thing is, guess what I did? Yep, put my hair back, got my apron on, and I did wash my hands for 20 seconds. So there's that. Then the next thing that you're gonna wanna do is preheat your oven to 375. So that is done. Let me just quick tell you, be careful. I want you to make sure that you check your oven rack, that it's already in the middle. And at home, I know that there's a few of you that maybe store stuff in your oven. Please make sure that the oven is clear of everything. And I say that because I've seen it happen. So I just saved you. You're welcome. All right, let's do this. Very first thing, you're gonna take your dry ingredients. So I've already pre-measured 2 cups of flour in here, but I need 2 1/4. So we're reiterating a little bit of what we learned about dry measuring cups. So I need 2 1/4. Go ahead and you're going to make sure you level off your flour. You can use the back of a knife. So there we go. We've got our flour, and we're adding some other dry ingredients, baking soda, and it's a teaspoon of baking soda and a teaspoon of salt. I'm gonna shake it all up in there. All right, and then when you're measuring your salt, remember you wanna measure over a custard cup. And so we're gonna do that just in case I overspill, and I always do. Hey, here's a quick tip. When you use iodized salt, you have iodine that's fortified in the salt. See, I would have totally over poured like a lot. And you need iodine for your thyroid. And it's something that a lot of us don't even do because we end up using we use pink Himalayan salt or gray salt. And so it's good. Cook with it, bake with it. It's important. All right, here we go. So there is our dry. I'm gonna give it a little mix. Make sure it incorporates really well. And we're gonna set that to the side. One mistake that I have seen students do is throw it all in the mixer all at one time. Don't be doing that, okay? What I want you to do is make sure you have that dry ingredient bowl separate. I'm using a stand mixer. It's something that we have in class, and you may not have one at home. You may have a hand mixer and that will work really well. Or maybe you're just using a bowl and a wooden spoon and you're gonna hand mix absolutely fine. Whatever is easiest for you, but I do want you to get a little bit familiar with a stand mixer, because if we end up back in class, which I hope we do, with our physical distancing, I'm not calling it social distancing because it's not really social distancing, we're physically distanced. So that's what I'm calling it. So when we're done with that and we're back in class, you will see these in your labs. There's a thread, and so your bowl gets threaded on and stationary. One thing I want you to be careful of is that I'm not gonna plug it in until I'm ready to go, okay? Because actually this was bumped, and it was bumped to #2, so if I would have started plugging it in and turning it on, I wouldn't wanna cause my fingers to get caught up in there. So you pop this on. And our next step is we want to cream the butter. Wow, because there's that. Cut, just kidding. Plug it in, especially if you're using a hand mixer. I want to make sure that you have your beaters in, then plug it in. Don't plug it in and then put your beaters in, okay? There's a lock button on one side, your speed's on the other. What we're gonna do is, very first thing is take, here's a cooking term. How much butter is this? Do you guys remember? 8 tablespoons is the same as a 1/2 cup. Yep, it's a cup. So you're gonna drop your butter in, and this is a cooking term. It's called creaming the butter. You take butter or a fat and sugar and you cream that. You're probably gonna do it on, depending on your mixer, about an 8 or medium high. We're just gonna give it a go. And then we're gonna add the sugar. Granulated sugar, 3/4 of a cup. I'm pouring it slowly. Brown sugar, remember to pack it, so it looks like a little sandcastle. What you don't want is for partially mixed. No good. So you want to make sure you're using a rubber spatula. Scrape that down and let it go again. Nice and creamy. So that's why they call it creaming. The butter has to be softened, not so soft that it's melted. So be careful of that. Next, we're going to get ready for vanilla and our eggs. We need a teaspoon of vanilla. And again, pour over your custard cup in case you over pour. And your eggs you want to do one at a time. There we go. Gonna rubber scraper that one more time, and we should be good to go with our dry ingredients. When you get ready to put in your flour, soda, and salt mixture, I want you to do it fairly slowly so you don't get a big poof of flour, and probably go like medium speed. I think that would be perfect. That looks good. And I'm just going to go a little bit at a time. Until mostly incorporated, then add a little bit more. Hi, did you see that? It's probably a little high. This mixer and I are gonna figure out how to get along. All right, there it is. I know it's tempting. Several of you made a comment that you do not like chocolate chips. You'd rather just eat the cookie or have the cookie without the chocolate chips. All right. And we're good to go. There. So you're gonna hand mix your chocolate chips in, or white chocolate chips. Another option for good eats, you could do a little bit lower sugar option, which would be like a 60% cocoa, or try something, these are actually really good. They're no sugar, they're made with erythritol, baking chips, and in the cookie you can't really tell the difference. So if you're doing no sugar, this is a stevia product, and stevia is an herb, a plant that when processed gives a, it's not an artificial sweetener, but it is a no calorie sweetener. All right, so your dough, when it's incorporated, should look like this. Did I get that in there? And we'll add the chocolate chips. This is two cups of chocolate chips. And now it's arm day. All right, incorporate that. If you want to add pecans or walnuts, that'd be great. Okay. Perfectly incorporated, and you have a choice if you want what makes my life really easy is a cookie scoop with a really small scoop. Some of you might just want to use 2 spoons, depends on what you have, and about a tablespoon. Here's the thing, you want to make sure they're uniform, you guys, because I know it's tempting. Make the biggest cookie ever. It takes forever to bake, trust me. I've seen it done. So this works really well, or flatten that cookie scoop. It's what we use in class. And go all the way through. And once we're done baking these, depending again on your oven, the size of your oven, some of you have a convection oven, it goes a little bit faster. I'll take 2 trays. I'll pop 2 trays in the oven, again at the 375 degrees that I had set, preheated right away. And then once you put them in the oven, some will go side by side, but many will go one on top of the other. Halfway through, just switch it and then bake it for the rest of the time. And then I'll show you what they look like coming out of the oven, and we'll put them on a cooling rack. All right, let's go. All right, so those are in the oven, and I don't want to eat that many cookies all at one time. So what we're going to do is wrap them in saran wrap, or you can put it in a container. Sometimes I'll just make dough, make a batch of cookies, and then 2 days later make another fresh batch and just bake them off. So the dough's made, put it in the refrigerator for 3 days, up to 3 days, or pop it in the freezer. Works great. Make sure it's sealed well. If you're going to put it in the freezer, put it in a Ziploc bag. Okay, that's my halfway through. I'm gonna switch the cookies. Then when I get ready to bake this, if I make it uniform, I just cut, and then pop them on the tray. Makes it super simple. All right, chefs, guess what? The timer went off. These look fantastic. And they smell fantastic. If you notice that I opened the oven door all the way, I'm standing off to the side. These are things I want you to be really cognizant of, all right? I want you to do the very same thing. Off to the side. A lot of times this is what you end up doing. You like open it kind of. You get a little bit nervous putting things in and taking things out. You open it up all the way and stand to the side. Much easier, and always use your hot mitts. If your hot mitts are ever wet, don't use them, because I'm turning off the oven, turning off the timer. Let these cool, because that heat will transfer really, really quickly. So I want you to be careful of that. These look fantastic. And I wish I could have you over and we could have cookies. My kids will be really happy. And I'm looking for a metal spatula. I should have that serving out. So what you want to do is let them cool about 2 minutes. And in doing so, I don't want to set this on the counter. In doing so, they will firm up a little bit. They won't be so gooey. Some of you like a really crispy cookie, more like this. Some of you like them very ooey and gooey. So whatever your preference is, let them set about 2 minutes. Put them on a cooling rack, and that's what I have right here. The reason being is you don't want them to cool while they're on your cookie sheet because they may end up not releasing very well. And you also want to put it on a cooling rack because you don't want a sweaty cookie. I know, that sounds weird. But if you just let it sit there, put them on the counter, they'll build up condensation at the bottom, and that's not a perfect cookie. This, perfect cookie. Look at that. If I let this sit for too long, I would end up, not look good. I would end up with a cookie that wanted to stick to the cookie sheet. So there we go. All right, I'll take the rest of these off. Okay, they've cooled on the cooling rack, and now you're ready to display. Remember, you were taking your 5 pictures, and we want a fun finished photo. This is your photo finish. So you could do this. If you don't have a cake plate, you can make one. Take a plate. I'm gonna take a mug, put it underneath. You won't see the handle, turn it toward the back. Stack up your cookies. You can put them on a large plate or a small plate. This is how you win friends and influence people. You just make them chocolate chip cookies. They'll love it. All right, and then check your angle, check your lighting. Of course, you want to eat them while they're warm. So there you are. Nestle Classic Chocolate Chip Cookie. Make good food, make good choices.